Are we recording?
Yes.
And Carol, you're ready? Sure. All right, I'll call the meeting to order. I did that materials. And will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis. Present. Councilmember Keel. Councilmember Kerr.
Here.
Councilmember Parmet.
Aye.
Councilmember Sullivan.
Here.
Councilmember Sisto. Mayor Riley.
Present.
There are 6 members present.
Thank you. First item is approval of the agenda of the last meeting. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Councilmember Parmet.
Motion to approve agenda.
Councilmember Thisted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of approval of the agenda of the last meeting, please raise your hands. The motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. The next session is an opportunity for communications with the council from the public. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to us? We have a 3-minute limit, so please abide by that, but we would be more than happy to hear from anybody. Please step up to the microphone and state your name and where you live or work in Keystone. Or home.
Thank you. Christy Camp in Ski Tip Ranch, and just moving up here more and more full-time from Denver. And I would like to know anything or be connected with anything with the current grant to hire a manager that is distributing the mineral and energy grant. That I basically just want to get more into the sustainability arms of the town. So anything I can be resourceful on. I'm a grant writer for organizations that have sustainability measures, rewarding and matching. So for schools and businesses.
I would ask the town manager to get in contact with you and address how potentially you can work with the town.
Wonderful, thank you.
Are there any other comments anyone would like to make? All right, with that, communications to council is now closed. The next item is the consent agenda. And on the consent agenda, we have the first reading of ordinance 2024-0-10, an ordinance of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, describing the means of publication for enacting local legislation and other matters. We have the minutes of the July 9th, 2024 meeting, and we have the town of Keystone 24-004 Class 2 site permit staff approval for My Epic Gear Slope Site Services and the accounts payable list. So, does anyone have anything they'd like to have removed from the consent agenda? Then can I have a motion to approve? Councilmember Sullivan.
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Councilmember Davis.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? The motion is carried by a vote of 5-0.
6.
Oh, 6, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this and immediately trying to figure out where the 6th person went. She's always been here. All right. The next item on the agenda is consideration of ordinances. It's the second reading. There are no public consideration of ordinances. We do have a resolution 2024-52, a resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, amending the town fee schedule to add short-term rental license fees. With that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
And I will turn this over to our town clerk.
So town council has previously adopted an ordinance regulating short-term rentals at its meeting on June 25th, 2024. This ordinance indicates that the town council will set license fees with the passage of a resolution, and in administering short-term rental licenses, the town will incur fees associated with this. Since the town is not currently has not yet administered a program like this, we don't have any data to go off of in terms of what this process is going to look like for us, but Summit County is currently charging $285 for a short-term rental license in the resort overlay zone. All of Keystone is within that resort overlay zone in Summit County, and that fee is the same for renewal licenses and new licenses. And we are suggesting, with the passage of this resolution, to maintain this fee, and staff will continue to evaluate and determine if there are changes that need to be made in the future.
Is there any comment, questions, or discussion? All right, hearing none. For those of you in the audience, again, I want to just let you know that this fee structure was discussed at length at our council meetings work session 2 weeks ago, which normally is what happens for a lot of these resolutions or ordinances. They're discussed before they end up getting put on the agenda. So we have, so very often there aren't a lot of questions because they were resolved in a work session. So it isn't that we're just listening to this and rotely voting for something. So with that, with no discussion, comments, can I have a motion? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to approve resolution 2024-52, pardon me, a resolution of town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, amending the fee schedule for town services to include short-term rental license fees.
Is there a second? Councilmember Parmet.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and we can do this by a voice vote, or a hand vote, rather. So with that, all in favor of passing resolution 2024-52, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, amending the town fee schedule to add short-term rental license fees, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the motion is passed with a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda is resolution 2024-53, a resolution of the town council of the town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a request for proposals for a third-party consultant to develop the town's first comprehensive plan. And with that, Mr. Town Manager.
And I will pass it on to Lindsay Hirsch, our Community Development Director.
We discussed this at the last meeting, and I believe in a work session item, the components that we would be looking for in in the RFP that will ultimately find a consultant to work on our first master plan. What I've done is given you a little bit of background and a little bit of the actual request. I've outlined the components in the RFP, the scope of the work. I really do anticipate once a consultant is selected that the public outreach is going to be quite high. That is blatantly obvious based on other conversations I've had with the council, and it was certainly evident during the incorporation. So I think the initial stages of whoever is selected, a lot of public outreach and meetings and different types of ways to do that will be utilized. In the RFP, I've also put in standard submittal requirements. And that also include qualifications, scope of work, schedule, fee schedule, make sure that we know what we're getting. Anticipated town staff and resources. In my staff report, I put an estimated budget of 150 to 200,000. That's a best guess. And I believe the RFP actually says 100,000 to 200,000, I believe, but I honestly do believe it'll, based on what I've heard from other consultants, that is most likely going to be the range. We're also attaching some other studies, so there'll be a traffic study built into that, and also the housing needs assessment, some work with that. So I do believe that is a reasonable range. I guess we will see once we get proposals back. So with that being said, I've laid out some dates. I do still anticipate this to be about a 9-month process once a consultant is retained. But this is exciting. This is the next logical step in the process. And as the town manager will discuss, we are looking for grant monies as well to subsidize this ultimate fee that council certainly anticipated. So with that, I would suggest you look at the resolution of approval and follow the motion, either approve or to send me back to work with the RFP. But I think I covered everything. I try to keep it as general in nature, but yet be specific in certain areas to give these consultants a feel for what we're really looking for. So if you have any questions for staff, please ask.
Councilmember Thiston.
How many proposals do you guesstimate that we would receive? I guess my more specific question is, how many people do this type of business?
A lot of private consultants do this business. If you look in the back of any planning magazine or online, you're going to see upwards of 30 to 50 different firms nationwide that do this, probably even higher nowadays. There are some local firms, there are actually firms on the Front Range, and they're national firms, if not even larger. So I have no idea what to anticipate. I'm optimistic that we'll get some good proposals and we'll select the right one that meets our needs.
Councilmember Davis.
Can you outline the selection process? Who will make the selection, how, and will the town council be involved? I just want to understand it. I got your,
no, that's a valid
everything else
question.
was very clear.
Well, we can do it multiple ways. However, the town manager and I did speak to this issue, and we believe that he and I can certainly handle this. This is what we do. With that being said, we can certainly come back to council with our recommendations.
No matter what, council would have to approve a final contract. And so what I anticipate is the community development director and I will sit down with the applications, rank them, score them, come up with a couple of top choices, and bring those back to the council to discuss at workshop and then approve.
There is even the ability, and again, once we get this thing moving, we can certainly talk more about it, but a lot of consultants will literally interview and make presentations on their capability and how they can address. So I think we can revisit that issue, but for the time being, I think staff is anticipating at least weeding out the consultants that best meet the town needs.
Yeah. And I would expect staff to give the council what their recommendation is.
Yes.
Like here.
Oh, absolutely. And why?
And why?
For the next election.
Absolutely. Because this is the best value selection for the town. Councilmember Davis.
Follow-up question. This is probably for Mayor. Is this money in the budget? I assume it is. Just want to verify.
The money is not specifically in the budget for 2024. There was funding for a plan in 2025. We're moving this up, but based on the financial review that we saw in work session, there shouldn't be any problem with implementing this.
No, especially if we can get a grant.
Yeah, but
No, we could implement it. This is something, whether we get a grant or not, that it's important.
And it's not uncommon to do incremental, the product being delivered.
That makes sense.
I believe we had $200,000 budgeted for 2025. Next. Any other questions?
Councilmember Kerr has.
Oh, Councilmember Kerr, thank you for waiting. I'm so focused. Unmute.
One.
You're muted.
We heard you before.
Can we try speaking again? Yes,
First word.
we can't hear you.
Here we go.
Still can't,
We heard her at roll call.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Maddie fixed it.
Okay, good. I have a number of questions. First of all, this is a really good product you put together, Mr. Hirsch. I particularly appreciate you including the housing needs assessment. That was super smart, especially since it's mandated, but this is a good way to take care of it. What is the time horizon that you anticipate this firm to look at? You know,
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years?
For the plan itself. 10 to 15 years is relatively normal these years. We can certainly, during the process, we can certainly talk about that issue, but 10 to 15 year forecast is relatively common.
Okay. And with that in mind, I appreciated the areas of specific interest and concerns that you identified: Highway 6, pedestrians, parking, economic development, and workforce housing. But I'm wondering if we should also signal to this group that we are interested in some longer term concerns, like the safety on the connector roads. So people talk to me about Soda Ridge a lot. Trails and open space, family-related infrastructure and amenities like parks, density, infrastructure, resilience. Is it appropriate to signal to them that we are interested in these things?
We could certainly build more detail in. I honestly believe that everything you mentioned will be handled just because they're normal items. Transportation element, the safety concerns, parks and open space and trails. There'll be a full inventory and recommendations on improvements and connectivity. I could certainly build in more detail. I do not mind, but I also didn't want to lead them too far. I kind of want to hear their thoughts on what they think that needs to be addressed. So there was sort of a fine line with giving them too much direction, but I'd be glad if council wants me to add these items in. I certainly, I can do that easily.
How about I send you that list and you can think about it some more? I'll confess to my rationale. I did some of the surveys when Summit County was doing its strategic plan surveys. And there was one on transportation, and I was astounded that there was no question about safety. There was no opportunity to weigh in on that. And I thought, how much is this because they weren't thinking of this? How much of it is because they weren't guided that way? So perhaps you just think about that some further, because we want to be a family-oriented town, I think. And then along those same lines, the RFP currently calls out property owners, citizen groups, businesses, and local nonprofits. I know that that's not all inclusive either, but I'd really rather us clarify that we are interested in those who rent, especially our workforce who rents. We don't want to zero anyone out.
All right. Carol, if you send me that itemized list, I'd be glad to consider it and work it into the RFP.
Okay. And last point. Do
Just
we
a
lose
sec.
the opportunity to incorporate second homeowner input if there are no summer months included on the timeline? Is that something you just make sure that this firm uses creative means to get to them?
That's an excellent question, and I looked at that from the inverse. I didn't want traffic studies to be conducted during non-peak seasons.
Oh,
Or-
agreed.
From the inverse of that, certainly the summer influence and activities will need to be considered. So how that's done, I'm not quite sure. I am, okay.
Yeah, if I may weigh in on this, this will be my fourth comprehensive plan in a relatively short period of time, starting with the one that this board has adopted. My name's on that list. A lot of the process starts with intense community outreach to find out what the community wants included in the plan. So issues like safety on Soda Spring Road might not be in the initial proposal or RFP, but it will be in the final plan because the direction of the plan is dictated by the community members of this town and their participation. And then going back to reaching out to the summer owners, the consultant will certainly be able to reach out to those people who don't come to their homes in the winter, but are owners up here. The only necessary group we might be missing is summer tourists and summer visitors. And the only way to make sure we get all of those would be to stretch this out for a full year, which I don't think we want to do. We just have to kind of rely on the stakeholders to represent that.
I think it's a really valid point. Again, Keystone originally was known for as a winter resort. Well, lo and behold, we're year round. With that being said, I think the consultant, upon direction, will, one of the stakeholders who will be actively involved, I would imagine, would be KNC. KNC has a lot of data with regards to summer events and things of that magnitude. That's only one resource. So it's duly noted. Let's get going with this, and if we start feeling like there's a void, we can address it.
I would make one exception. I think your primary reach out ought to be to KOA, Keystone Owners Association.
I'm sorry.
Because they represent 63 HOAs in Keystone, all in K and C except one.
All the case. We're including all the case.
And the folks that you reach out to,
Yes.
I would recommend you also reach out to the workforce, both seasonal and permanent.
Right, right. So I appreciate this discussion. I know you can't put everything in the RFP. However, I do think it's important that we give enough direction that if the summer homeowners aren't going to be here, they understand the study people understand that they have to figure out a way to get to them. That's all I'm looking for. So
It
thank
could
you
be
for that consideration.
easy as a line like making sure that all interested populations are engaged in the development plan.
Right, but if we do that, then it's critical that we not just identify some of those. I do have one last question, Mr. Hirsch, and that is way up top in the RFP. It says that one of the things we might be looking for is, quote, possibly goals, policies, implementation measures directed at a more functional method to work cooperatively with the owners of the ski resort. I confess I don't understand what you're trying to say. Can you help me out?
That was just gobbledygook. That was a word salad right there.
I didn't write that.
I heard it, but I was just shooting for a very, very general statement with regards to the public outreach is going to be very vast. It's not going to be any one group by any means. So that was my feeble attempt at just trying to indicate that it was going to be a comprehensive analysis of the needs of the town.
And kind
That
of
will
giving,
include reaching out to the ski resort, yes? Both of them.
Of course, I mean, they are a large component, but not the sole stakeholder, if you will. So that was,
Absolutely not.
I could probably wordsmith that down a little bit. Thank you for
So-
calling me.
Again, though, thank you. This is great work. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Councilmember Barrett.
Just a brief musing that we are a really unique place, that we're a resort that became a town. But I think it is also important to remember that we are now a town. And as we put this RFP out, remember, as we include all of our stakeholders, it is about our future as a town. Adjacent to a resort, still including the portions of the resort, but we're a town.
Thank you.
Any other comments? We're now in a portion, if someone would like to make a motion. Councilmember Sullivan.
Sure. I move that we approve resolution 2024-53, the resolution of Town Council of the Town of Keystone, Colorado, approving a request for proposal from third-party consultant to develop the town's first comprehensive plan.
Is there a second, Councilmember? Barnett.
Second.
Moved and second. Is there any discussion or debate? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? I even saw the hand on the screen. The motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. The next item on the agenda is other, and it's a consideration of submission of a grant application for the Energy Impact Assistance Fund associated with the town comprehensive plan. With that, I'll turn it over to the town manager.
okay, this is kind of an easy one. That's why I just actually left it just as a motion from the board. But since we just approved the RFP for the comprehensive plan, the staff recommends that we apply for a EIAF grant, that's Energy Impact Assistance Fund grant, to cover some of the cost of hiring the consultant. We already have an EIAF grant paying part of my salary. EIAF grants come from their Energy Impact Assistance funds, and that's royalties paid to the state or the federal government, and severance taxes on energy and mineral production, and drilling in the state. So communities specifically impacted by energy development, by mining or drilling, have priority for EIAF grants. As a Summit County community, we have a priority because of the impact of specifically the Climax molybdenum mine and the Ute Pass mill. They consider it enough of Summit County, enough workers work over here or live over here that it does impact us. EIAF grants are matching grants, so that means if we have a $200,000 cost for the comprehensive plan, we could get up to $100,000. The town would be responsible for the other $100,000. DOLA requires the approval of an elected board before they consider an EIAF grant application. We're wrapping up grant cycle. It ends August 1st. We've started to work on the grant. We'll send it after we finish our first draft, Councilmember Kerr, to wordsmith it a little bit. But the application has to be in by August 1st, otherwise we're pushed off to the next grant cycle, which I believe is in October. What I need from the board is just a simple motion to approve applying for an EIAF grant.
Any questions? Councilmember Davis?
I move to approve the application of an EIAF grant to fund the development of the comprehensive plan.
Is there a second? Councilmember Sullivan?
Second.
Any discussion or debate? Councilmember Permet?
Following on town manager's comments that we are affected, I think it's a really interesting thing. I think it's just worth noting another piece of our history. In the current day, Climax Mine and the Henderson Mill are huge economic engines that are not tourism related in our community. And we are lucky, in my view, in my study of them, to see the responsibility that they put into responsibly managing extraction with respect to the environment. And when I look around our community, what we were before, we were a town as we were a resort. Before we were a resort, we were a mining town and a lumber mill. And you just need to look around the hills here to see all of the old unhealed scars, but poorly managed because they didn't know better and there were no rules about it back then, extraction industry. So I love the fact that we can apply for a grant to help our community. As beautiful as some of those old historic structures are, it's rough to see the tailings piles that drain acid runoff into our rivers. So that's all I had to add.
Any other comments or debate? I believe we have a motion and a second. And we are voting on whether to approve a EIF grant to support the comprehensive plan. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? The motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. Next item is report of the town manager staff. Mr. Town Manager.
Okay, I'll start with some really good news. We have offered a position to a town planner. He is accepted. We have started the background checks on that. We're very happy to possibly have this applicant coming and joining the team. I have one more interview for a public works director. I've already interviewed 2 candidates who I feel would be just fine for the job. Conducting the other interview tomorrow, and we anticipate making an offer to a public works director by the end of the week also. All of the finalists for the public works directors have homes in Summit County, and our planner We own the home yet, or is it under contract?
It's under contract.
Under contract. So those are, as we all know, big issues in trying to get someone to work here. We're really excited to be closing out, rounding out the staff finally. As we see from the smoke and the haze, these are the Canadian fires, but it is wildfire season again. So actually the entire county and staff in particular here are working on safety and evacuation plans. Tomorrow at the manager's meeting, we're discussing the countywide evacuation plan again. I've already started discussions with the resort about their facilities and materials they can bring in case of an emergency. We'll be talking to the fire department and the sheriff's department, and hopefully within the next month or so come up with the town's evacuation process and procedures in case of emergencies, and outlining everyone's roles and duties depending on what the situation might be. Let's see, roads. Excel is running behind on Soda Spring Road. Right now, as of now, we've still got time. They might catch up, but they do not anticipate that they will have the final overlay done this year. They think that'll probably have to be pushed off to next year. A big part of that is you can't lay pavement down when it's cold out. So it really depends on what the weather's looking like in the fall as we get closer to it. But there is a strong chance that Soda Ridge Road will be a patchwork of repairs or Soda Spring Road until Soda Ridge Road until next spring. Going off on that, I talked at our last meeting about getting bids to deal with the Four Corners intersection and the little stretch of corner on Ranch Road past the stables and the purchasing warehouse. We had an engineer, Randy, give a quick look at Ranch Road. It's not simply a matter of taking 2 inches off and overlaying that. It is very likely going to be a rebuild of that small stretch of road. So we're in the process of getting an engineer to actually come up and help us put together an RFP for those 2 sections. No one on staff has the skill to determine exactly what we need there. So there's a chance those projects might have to be put off till springtime too. Actually, even if not, there was a good chance it's much easier to book roads, asphalt crews months ahead as opposed to a month or 2 ahead. But we're still working on those. Let's see, HOA meetings, I will be sending out an email next week to all staff members, or council members, listing all the HOAs who've requested meetings, making sure we have someone signed up to attend them. I attended the Key Condo with Councilmember Davis and Councilmember Thisted, and we got a standing ovation at the end, which was awfully nice. Snow plowing and road maintenance. I've met with KNC and Keystone Resort to make sure we will continue forward this winter. I'll be bringing contracts to the board or the council here probably sometime in September. But we've come to general agreements on the scope of the work and the cost of the work. And I'm pretty happy with how those negotiations have gone. Let me see. Charging grant. Yes. I'm working with the other communities except for Breckenridge because for some reason they're not considered an I-70 community for EV charging grants. There's a new pot of money available to install EV charging stations. Of course, we don't have property, but I've talked to the resort about working with them if we can get a grant to install EV charging stations, them supplying the property to put these at. So we're moving forward with that. It's this grant cycle on this is moving quickly. Northwest COG is giving us a ton of help and support to get these grants. And Frisco, Silverthorne, Dillon, and the town of Keystone are all working together to put in one proposal for several locations. CAST meeting is coming up August 22nd and 23rd in Durango. Please let us know this week if you plan on attending so we can book a hotel room and pay for the registration fee. Reach out to either Maddie or I about that. This weekend at Keystone, they have the Art Fest. Bluegrass and Beer is next weekend. They still have the Friday music. The golf courses are rocking. It's a good summer to be in Keystone. Over the past week, we had the mayor's mentors and our past 2 weeks, mayor's mentors and commissioners meetings. I went down to the IMTPR, Intermountain TPR meeting in Glenwood Springs last Friday. Very interesting. First of all, they did give us a vote, despite not having an IGA yet recognizing us. That has to do with the whole split. The split is still very much up in the air. Summit County people were not optimistic. But that being said, the Transportation Commissioner Liu, wants it done, and she tends to get things done that she wants done. We'll see how that shakes out. Worst case scenario, we still exist with all of Eagle County and Garfield and Pitkin County. Now, IMTPR, I kind of want to go into one thing that CDOT specifically mentioned at that meeting. And IMTPR is used among the communities in the region to prioritize spending on capacity building issues. CDOT has 3 baskets of money. Asset management, which is basic road repairs, small stretches of resurfacing, issues like we need on parts of Highway 6. And they have another basket for safety improvements. That includes things like multimodal safe pedestrian use, dangerous intersections like the Four Corners and Montezuma Road, and then finally capacity building, which is major road repairs, expansion of roads, the Highway 9 project making it 4 lanes from Breckenridge to Frisco, or the new lane on I-70 or capacity building. And that's where the TPR weighs in. CDOT will take the input of the TPR and add in a few extra criteria, cost, issues like that to determine their priority for capacity building. But all in all, it was good for CDOT to clearly define this, because I feel our issues with Highway 6 can be defined as safety issues and asset management issues, which allows us to kind of bypass getting the buy-in from other communities for them to spend money on us. Let's see, I-70 Coalition met last week. I met with KNC, and I met with both Robin and Chris from the resort. Robin is in charge of valley operations, Chris is in charge of mountain operations. Speaking of, we have a new, as Commissioner Parmet pulled the scoop this weekend, but we have a new interim GM for Keystone Resort, Tom Fortune. He used to run he was in charge of the Tahoe region, and he recently retired, but he came back to serve as interim for a couple months at least until they hire a permanent person in this position. That'll give us someone who's here all the time to contact, rather than Nadia, who was maybe here once a week and had other concerns too, along with running the resort. So it's good to see the resort moving forward with that process. And with Excel and CDOT also, as we said. Upcoming managers meeting. Managers meeting includes all of the town managers, the county manager, and the superintendent and the head of CMC. So it's kind of interesting to have those two, but they're great contributors to this meeting, and it's good to have them involved. Transit board meeting is immediately after that. We'll be discussing the nicotine tax later this week, and coffee with the council, the first meeting is coming up here August 5th. And let me see, just a few other things. Our next meeting is in 3 weeks, August 13th. I will be gone August 1st through the 5th. I'll have my phone and computer, but it's a long weekend, so Thursday, Friday, and Monday I'll be out of the office. And that's all I've got.
Any questions from staff? Councilmember Permet?
Thank you for all that. Any updates on Dark Sky?
They have not gotten back in touch with me. I'll reach out again. It would be nice if we could get in the September time period to do this.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Dark Sky.
Dark Sky. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? All right, next item is report of the mayor and council. Any of the council members want to provide a report? Councilmember Sullivan.
Update, as you know, we have a group of citizens that are working with us to consider getting enhanced postal services for the town of Keystone. That being actual services and delivery, potential zip code, and down the road potentially brick and mortar. We had a good session with the postmaster, Michael Mendillo, and he feels pretty good about his ability to now get enhanced postal services to the town. That requires having something to put the letters in. So that's cluster boxes or individual boxes. He has also had a good success in, we've had a second proposal that's come forward goes to Denver and then federal, and it's gone back and forth a couple times on a potential zip code. And with the second proposal, we collectively feel good that will be seen positively. We'll see when that comes back from Washington. With regards to brick and mortar, that's down the road. As I think people know, the post office is actually closing facilities, so that one we're not quite as optimistic. But back to the delivery, the requirement is that we have facilities to put the letters in, and we're in a unique situation in our community because of the percentage of population that doesn't physically live here. And so what that cluster box is typically what we would be looking for installation at condominium groups or communities like the Alders, for example. And they cost around $2,600, one-time installation. And that would be incumbent on the HOA or the community installing those. Once they're installed, the post office takes over, they they handle the assignments and the keys and they actually do the installation as well, they offer to. So what I'm really questioning now from our group here, the town, is that to move this along, we should probably consider in a work session thoughts on resolutions on putting cluster boxes in new development, and then somehow encouraging that with other developments, whether it's community or HOAs. And the other thought that's come up is of the $2,600 per cluster box, would the town be interested in subsidizing maybe the first 10, 20 of those that get installed? Anyway, I suggest that we maybe discuss this more further in a work session at some point, and think about how we might be able to encourage this. Any questions?
Let's do it, permit.
One of the happiest moments of my 21 years living up here was digging up a little hole and putting in the concrete to have my own mailbox. Never want to lose home delivery, and I think everyone else in town deserves it.
And I think we now know who's going to install all the cluster boxes.
Right. He has experience.
I need a good job. That's what I need.
Councilmember Kerr.
Councilmember Sullivan, is it your understanding that if we build it, they will come? Which is to say, if those cluster boxes come in, has the postmaster committed that he'll have the manpower to deliver?
Yes, he's, and more than that, he's willing to attend HOA meetings, for example, to explain what needs to occur, and then he'll take responsibility for helping select the sites and making sure that they meet the safety standards, USPS, and et cetera. And he feels pretty good. He feels very confident that he can, if we build it, he will come.
Then is there a sense of the council we'd like to have this put on to a work session in the future? See, all nods.
Would he be willing to come talk to the council?
I can ask if interested. I mean, do you want us to share with the objective of what would you like to discuss? This process?
Whatever he was thinking of sharing with the HOAs, it might be more efficient for him to share it with us.
But I'm sure he'd be happy to meet with us. His thought is on the HOAs, that would probably be more individually focused. You know, he's reviewed the facility, he looks at the safety concerns, he'd say, for your HOA, you need 2 boxes, here's the price, that kind of thing. But I think he's very supportive of delivery in Keystone. So if the council desires it, I can certainly ask him to come in and visit with us.
Perhaps include him as part of the work session.
That'll be fun.
Any other questions? I have one question on the zip code application. Would it help or hinder at this time? We've got congressional support from either our state or U.S. senators or Congressman Magoo.
It probably would. The process, we had a proposal, went to Denver, was approved, went to Fed, they came back, they said they had more questions, so we've now gone back with those. We don't have a reply yet. I can ask, I didn't ask that about if we can actually be proactive with our support.
If I feel fairly confident that I could get Congressman Magoo to come online and potentially Senator Hickenlooper.
I will bring that up. I think that certainly would hurt.
Again, but we don't want to, if that's going to hinder the process, with some bureaucracies of mine, when they dig in, we certainly don't want to create a roadblock.
I will ask Michael for his counsel.
All right. Any other council members? From a council member standpoint, how did the key condo discussions go?
I thought it went fine. There were a few questions, but not a lot, and we can handle them all. Councilmember Vista did a fabulous job of explaining debrucing in a couple of quick sentences. We mostly stuck to their schedule. We had 15 minutes and but I think you need to be respectful of people's time, so.
Anything to add, Councilman Christie? On that topic of HOA meetings, I just received today an invitation to the August 17th Flying Dutchman HOA meeting at 10 a.m. If anyone is available and would like to attend that, please contact our town manager and he will put you on the schedule. And again, that's 10 a.m. on the 17th of August.
In person or virtual?
It's in person. A couple of other items. The town manager mentioned the evacuation plan, and as part of that mayor-manager meeting, the county is developing a county-wide evacuation plan that will include all of the towns in Summit County, and we will be, and the managers are going to be discussing what the appropriate fair share of cost of that would be for each of the towns to share in that countywide plan. Because any evacuation that occurs from Keystone is going to impact Dillon, or potentially any impact on evacuation of Dillon, which may involve a closure of I-70, would certainly impact Keystone. So they're looking at a contractor to come in and do that, and the share of that is apparently in discussion among the managers, and then the elected and the mayors and the elected folks all said fine, let the managers sort out the details. But that's just a heads up, that will be coming shortly to us all for consideration. A couple of other noted things. On August 10th is the Bill Bergman Memorial at 10 a.m. in the lodge. I believe it's 10 a.m. If you're interested, anyone, the entire community is invited. We talked about the town manager EIF grant that we've had, and just as a note of this afternoon, I signed our first reimbursement request to DOLA for the first reimbursement to cover the last quarter. So we will start receiving dollars on that shortly, and that request was for about $20,000, 3/4 of the cost of the town manager since he arrived. Bill Bergman is at 1 p.m. I stand corrected. James is at 10.
That's exactly right.
So that's all I have right now. We do have a mayor-manager meeting next Thursday, and we will be, and the town manager and I will be meeting with Tom Fortune a week from Friday. So, any questions? With that, any other matters that we should be considering today? Councilmember Kerr.
This isn't so much a new consideration as just it is giving attention to something that's happened behind the scenes. Our lawyer made a reference to this, and I want to point out that our town clerk, Maddie Silu, has made great progress in complying with the digital accessibility standards that are required by the state. She has a progress report up on, as of July 1st, on our website, and I know that that has been a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I think that's worth noting. Secondly, she's also, I'm not sure if everyone knows, she's been putting all our meetings, our work sessions, and our council minute sessions. The videos are on YouTube and very easily found from our website. So thank you for that.
Any other items? And I also applaud our clerk, Maddie Seelu. She's done, I believe, an absolutely remarkable job so far. I don't think that Gary Martinez could have found a better hire at this point. With that, I believe our next scheduled meeting is on August 13th.
My
Here,
birthday.
3 weeks, so we get a 1 week reprieve. And we have no executive session scheduled. In one last chance, if there's anything else you'd like to bring up, if not, can I have a motion to adjourn? Councilmember Davis.
Motion to adjourn.
I guess we want to stay here. Oh, Councilmember Sullivan. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Motion is carried with a vote of 6-0. We are adjourned with a new record, early adjournment.
Thank you.